Good evening, and welcome back. In the quiet hours of the night, some feelings become clearer, not louder, but heavier. In part 3 of my best friend's sister, the silence between them begins to change. Glances linger. Moments stretch longer than they should, and the line they've been pretending not to see starts to feel closer than ever. This part of the story isn't about decisions, it's about awareness, about realizing that something fragile has taken shape. Something that cannot be ignored forever. So take a deep breath. Let your body relax. Let the world outside fade away. And as the night settles in, return to the place where emotions remain unspoken, but are no longer unseen. Distance doesn't always mean space. Sometimes it means silence. The morning after that almost moment felt quieter than usual. Not because the house was empty, but because something between us had shifted. Claire avoided my eyes at breakfast. Not cold, just careful. Mark talked endlessly, unaware, sipping coffee and scrolling through his phone. I nodded when needed, smiled when expected, but my attention stayed with her. The way she held her mug like it anchored her. The way she exhaled slowly, as if steadying herself. Later, when Mark left for the day, the house settled again. Claire spoke first. "We should keep some distance," she said gently. I nodded. I know. It wasn't rejection, it was protection. So we did what adults do when feelings become dangerous. We behaved. We stayed in separate rooms. We kept conversations light. We respected the line. But emotions don't fade just because you ask them to. That evening, rain returned. Soft, steady, familiar. Claire stood by the window, watching the drops slide down the glass. "Do you ever wish," she said quietly, "that timing didn't matter?" "Yes," I answered, too quickly. She smiled sadly. "That's what scares me." That night, we said goodnight from opposite ends of the hallway, and for the first time since I arrived, the distance felt heavier than closeness. Time passed, a few days, maybe more. The house found a rhythm again, normal, safe. But beneath that rhythm lived a quiet awareness of what we weren't saying. One evening, Mark announced he'd be leaving early the next morning, a work trip, overnight. Claire froze for half a second, just long enough for me to notice. That night, sleep came slowly. Thoughts moved gently like waves. When I stepped into the kitchen for water, I found her there. Lights low, the room wrapped in shadows. "I couldn't sleep," she said. "Me neither." We stood across from each other, distance between us again. Intentional, fragile. "I don't regret knowing you," she said softly. My chest tightened. "I don't regret it either." She looked at me then, really looked. "I just needed you to know that," she added. The moment felt full, but calm. No rush, no crossing lines, just truth. We didn't touch, we didn't move closer, and somehow that made it more intimate than anything else. When she turned to leave, she paused. "Good night," she said. "Good night, Claire." She walked away, and I knew whatever happened next, this would stay with us. Not as a mistake, but as something real. The house changed the moment Mark's car disappeared down the long, quiet road. Not empty, just softer, as if the walls themselves had relaxed into the silence. Claire and I moved through the evening carefully. We spoke about small things, dinner plans, a movie we never finished, the sound of rain beginning again. But every word felt measured, intentional. After dinner, she washed the dishes while I dried them, side by side, close but respectful. The warm light above the sink reflected in the window, and for a moment, everything felt peaceful. "I don't like when the house feels this quiet," she said softly. "It's only for a night," I replied. She nodded, though her expression said there was more beneath the words. Later, we sat in the living room, the same couch, the same lamp, the same space where so many almost moments had lived. Rain tapped gently against the glass. "It feels strange," she said. "Just us here." "It does," I agreed. But it didn't feel wrong, just honest. We sat without rushing the silence. "I trust you," she said suddenly. I turned to her, surprised by how much those words meant. "I won't cross a line," I said quietly. "I promise." Her shoulders relaxed as if she'd been holding something in for days. "Thank you," she whispered. We stayed there for a while longer, sharing the calm without touching it too closely. When she finally stood to go to bed, she paused near the hallway. "Good night," she said. "Good night, Claire." Her footsteps faded, but the warmth of the moment stayed. That night, sleep came slowly, but peacefully, because sometimes trust is enough to quiet the heart. Morning arrived quietly. Sunlight slipped through the curtains in soft lines, touching the room without asking permission. The kind of light that feels gentle, forgiving. The night before had left no heaviness behind. In the kitchen, Claire was already awake. She moved slowly, almost thoughtfully, as coffee brewed and filled the room with warmth. "Morning," she said, turning with a small smile. Morning. There was ease between us now. No tension. No rush. We sat at the table, hands wrapped around warm mugs, the silence comfortable instead of cautious. "I slept better than I expected," she said. "So did I replied. She smiled at that, as if something had quietly settled inside her. "I think sometimes," she said softly, "we make things harder by fighting what we feel too much." "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe we just needed to understand it." She met my eyes, steady and calm. "I'm glad we talked," she said. "So am I." Outside, the world moved on as it always did. Cars passed, birds called from somewhere unseen. Life didn't pause for complicated emotions. Later that afternoon, Mark called. His voice filled the room, cheerful and unaware. "Everything okay at home?" he asked. I glanced at Claire. She gave a small nod. "Yes," I said. "Everything's fine." And it was. Not perfect, not simple, but honest. When the call ended, Claire exhaled slowly. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For being careful," she replied. I nodded. That matters. As the days stretched on, I realized something important. Not every love story is about crossing lines. Some are about choosing restraint, about respect, about understanding that care can exist without action. And sometimes that choice brings the deepest kind of peace. Some mornings don't bring answers, they bring. And so, the night grows quieter. Some feelings don't arrive suddenly. They appear slowly, in small moments, in glances that last a second too long, in silence that feels warmer than words. In this part of the story, nothing was said out loud, yet everything was felt. Because sometimes the most powerful emotions are the ones we try the hardest to ignore. As you rest now, let your breathing slow. Let your thoughts drift. The story is not over. In part 3, the distance between them becomes harder to maintain, and the line they pretend not to see begins to take shape. Until then, close your eyes, relax your body, and allow the calm to carry you into sleep. Good night, and I'll see you in the next part.